Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. My name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, the future of work consultancy that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show. And today we'll talk about the forced return to office and how it's really the definition of insanity. So here's the thing. Let's talk about productivity trends. US productivity has declined for 5 consecutive quarters starting from the first quarter of 2022, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But productivity rose between Q2 2020, the start of the pandemic, and Q4 2021. So it rose during those periods. This was the period of pandemic lockdowns, work from home, and the more recent drop in productivity from Q1 2022 was the period of the return to office mandates. Now, does that surprise you that when people worked from home, when they worked remotely, we had a growth in productivity, and when we were returned to the office, we had a drop in productivity? Maybe it shouldn't surprise you, because a lot of research has shown that flexible hybrid work is more productive than in-office work. So the definition of insanity is what we see here, is this forcing people to the office and thinking that they will be productive, whereas realistically we're seeing that the return to the office mandates are associated with a drop in productivity. And that's a problem. So Slack survey shows that 2/3 of business leaders feel a pressure to increase productivity, and they are at the same time, they're herding employees back to the office, claiming that they're trying to increase productivity by doing so, which again has been dropping all this time that they're trying to increase productivity from Q1 2022 through these forced return to office mandates. But the productivity has been going lower and lower. That's a problem compared to the previous periods. So executives are doing the same thing and expecting different results. Now that's the definition of insanity. There's a productivity myth around the office. So many CEOs believe that the office boosts productivity, and that's a false belief. Research shows that the office is detrimental to individual productivity with your individual head-down focused tasks. But collaboration, socializing, mentoring, training, especially more deep training, thrive in the office. Focused work is what gets sucked into oblivion. That's what really suffers in the office. And what is missing is a combination of autonomy and engagement. So office-centric mentality, the CEO mentality that you need to go to the office to be productive, hurts productivity. It hurts employee engagement. That's what a Gallup study shows. It shows that remote-capable employees lack autonomy and feel really frustrated and resentful when they're forced to go into the office without a good reason, that they're doing the same things that they would be doing at home. This leads to lower engagement, lower retention, lower morale, lower productivity. So Gallup estimated that in 2022, low employee engagement cost the world $7.8 trillion in lost productivity. That's huge. Now, something to think about and something that a lot of leaders talk about is the impact of physical proximity on mentorship. So a study by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, Harvard University, and the University of Iowa showed that engineers in different buildings at a Fortune 500 company wrote more code than those who were in close proximity. So if you are going to be on a team with other people and you're going to be in the same building, you're going to write less code than if you're going to be in a different building on the same team. Why? Because you get more feedback, and so you spend time on giving feedback to each other. So engineers working in different buildings commented less on their team members' codes, and if you're working in the same building, you comment more, so you get more feedback. So if you're working in different buildings, you're working more individually with less feedback. This increases productivity. So individually, the coders produced more codes. But it resulted in decreased mentorship, decreased learning, because you got less feedback and you gave less feedback. So junior coders got less feedback, senior coders gave less feedback. And so if we want collaboration and productivity, that clearly shows that we need to have a little bit of a sacrifice in productivity and spend time working in the office for the sake of more collaboration. And so that's where we really need to rethink the role of the office. It is not a source of productivity. Expecting the office to boost productivity is like expecting a fish to ride a bicycle. The office serves a different purpose, and we need to realize that and embrace it and celebrate it. So forced return to office correlates with plummeting productivity. We don't want to force a square peg into a round hole. We need to embrace the office for what it's good for: collaboration, socializing, mentoring, training. But we need to be careful when we think about things like mentoring just automatically happening in the office. In-office presence harms productivity, but it does boost mentoring if it's structured correctly. There's a misconception that just getting people in the office will guarantee mentoring. Reality is that office-based mentoring is often inconsistent. Sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't if you don't have deliberate action. One of the biggest office-based mentoring limitations is this idea that proximity boosts mentoring. What I see now, I've worked with 26 organizations to help them figure out their hybrid work models. A lot of senior people who are asked to come to the office, forced to come to the office to mentor junior staff, they really resent it. They come to the office, they put on their headphones, and they're not really interacting with these junior staff. So that proximity is not getting leaders the benefits that they want. Office politics also play a big role. So that plays a big role in undermining mentoring when it's about another issue is personality differences, but office politics is a big one. So you want to consider office politics, personality dynamics, and it's just broader resentment of being forced into proximity. And there are ways of addressing that. You can have a structured mentoring program, which enhances mentoring with an intentional approach with a minimal time spent in the office, sufficient to do mentoring, but not just randomly getting people into the office and hoping that they will happen to bump into each other and mentor, that senior people will mentor junior people, instead of resenting being asked to come to the office to mentor junior staff and then not doing so. What are the key elements of a structured mentoring program? You want to pair mentors and mentees based on skills, interests, and goals. You want to ensure knowledge sharing and personal growth as part of doing so, not leaving that to chance. And cultivate and nurture mentor-mentee relationships strategically. So what does it mean in a hybrid environment? Structured mentoring programs are especially important for hybrid work by combining the best aspects of working remotely with in-office work. You want to limit in-office activities to necessary mentoring sessions. And that helps senior mentors, so coders, anyone who's in a senior position who's providing mentoring, feel like they're coming to the office for a good purpose. It helps mentees feel like they're coming to the office for a good purpose. It greatly reduces resentment. So it maximizes productivity of this collaborative activity of mentoring and employee satisfaction. And it preserves the benefits of face-to-face interactions through those mentoring sessions. And you want to balance the in-office sessions with remote mentoring. Schedule targeted in-office sessions to maximize those benefits, while respecting the needs of employees for flexibility and for spending some time working remotely. You use technology for remote mentoring through video conferencing, instant messaging, collaboration tools. You can do a lot of mentoring that way. Now, it's really best to build your relationship in person, to have those initial mentoring sessions in person, to build a relationship, and to handle more nuanced, tricky, touchy issues in the office, so more in-depth conversations. But you can do a lot of mentoring through video conferencing, instant messaging, collaboration tools. So without in-person meetings, you can still do a lot of mentoring, and you should leave people and help them do that. Leave people alone, help them do that, make sure they can do mentoring remotely as well as in person through these structured mentoring sessions, through these structured mentoring interactions. To do so, you want to have clear goals. Establish clear goals and expectations, set objectives and milestones for mentoring to enhance focus and accountability, and maximize the impact of the mentoring program. Encourage networking and collaboration in the mentoring program. Use virtual and in-person workshops, create knowledge sharing forums, build relationships beyond that one-on-one mentoring, so you have some peer mentoring going on. That's a really great tool as well. And monitor and evaluate the progress of your mentoring program. So in order to do so, track the progress of mentoring relationships, use a survey, use feedback, identify specific areas for improvement. And this is something that HR must own the program to actually make sure this happens. Continuously refine the program based on feedback and ensure the ongoing effectiveness and impact of the program. Now, there are going to be some roadblocks you run into among leaders to establishing this approach of using the office for the purpose it's best for, which is socializing, collaborating, mentoring, team building. Status quo bias is one of these problems. It's about preferring the current state of affairs and resisting change. Even if it's beneficial to change, there's a resistance to it. There's anxiety, there's uncertainty. Change feels bad. So there's a big impact on CEOs, executives, where many perceive change, unconsciously often, as a threat to their authority, their ability to run things, their knowledge base, the established order, and they choose to maintain the familiar, comfortable office environment, despite the evidence of the effectiveness of remote mentoring, hybrid work, hybrid mentoring, and structured mentoring programs. Another related bias is functional fixedness. It's kind of like the hammer-nail syndrome. When you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Well, you fixate on a familiar approach and you have difficulty accepting alternative problem-solving methods. So you become fixed. And things that used to be functional might become dysfunctional in new contexts. Things that used to be functional in in-office work become somewhat dysfunctional in hybrid work. But CEOs and executives have a lot of trouble accepting that. So leaders may often mistakenly believe that the office is the sole productive environment, and they fail to recognize the benefits of flexibility and the need to have individual productivity at home and collaboration mentoring in the office. And they overlook compelling evidence supporting these new approaches. So you want to rethink the office. There's a new way forward. Remember that forced in-office work is not effective. The office is great for collaboration, mentoring, and training, not for individual productivity on things that you need to really focus on. So you want to tailor work arrangements to individual roles and preferences. Use a structured mentoring program to support junior staff. Embrace the future of this flexible model. That way you'll reverse the decline in productivity and unleash the potential of your workforce to help it thrive. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. Please make sure to leave a review wherever you checked out the show. And of course, get back with us and share with us what you liked about the show and what you didn't. My email is gleb@disasteravoidanceexperts.com. I'll be happy to find out from you what you liked about it and what you didn't. And of course, subscribe wherever you checked out the show.